Hey there, this is Dyce Kimura, a Miami guitar teacher, and today I'm going over some guitar techniques. Some of these are going to be beginner techniques and some of them are going to get more advanced, but we're talking about acoustic fingerstyle playing today, and I want to go over a few concepts. I want to talk about using a capo and also fingerstyle and using your thumb and your fingers to pluck, and moving bass lines, and kind of giving a richer, complex chord sequence that almost like tells a story. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to be talking about like alright, so that's just a little snippet from Fallin. And as some of you may know, that's a Tom Petty song, but John Mayer covered it. And I'm probably going to be referencing more to the John Mayer version because what I want to talk about is the isolating those moving bass lines. So basically, as a beginner, when you're learning chords, you're putting these chords together, and you can just strum them, like this, for instance. And that's good. It's bold, it's big sounding, a lot of information coming at you, it's rhythmical. But if you want to have more of an intimate, subtle sound, you're noticing when I'm playing, notice that independent bass line. So before I get into fingerstyle playing and how to play it, I just want to clarify. I run into a lot of beginners that want to play with their fingers, but they're not playing fingerstyle. What they're doing is they're strumming like this, and they're just kind of holding their fingernail as if it were a pick and playing. And that is a huge mistake to make if that's what you're doing, because there's a definite glass ceiling. There's a limit to how good you can get with that technique. That's not a full-on guitar technique. That's just strumming with your fingernail, and you're going to eventually find that you don't have a level of precision and attack, and just you can't do a more complex delivery when you're strumming with the flesh of your fingertip, because it's just soft and mushy, and it'll eventually get painful, and there's only so much you can do with that. So if you're going to do fingerstyle, you want to go all the way. And I'm going to talk about and compare today a few examples of how fingerstyle can compare with strumming, okay? So basically, the song that I'm using, I'm kind of teaching this song in this video at the same time. This is John Mayer's version of Tom Petty's Free Falling that I'm using. But this is not necessarily a tutorial on how to play that song. This is more of just using that as a reference point. I figured Free Falling is a very famous song. Everybody knows it, and it's using a few of the key concepts that I want to discuss with you today, namely the moving bass lines, the fingerstyle picking, and the use of a capo with an acoustic guitar. Okay, so for me to play this particular song, I have the capo set to the 4th fret. In case you're wondering, this is a capo, and I'm using a Planet Waves capo. I'll have a link at the bottom of this video if you want to get this capo. It's a really good capo. I like the fact that it has a spring with screws, and it means it's fully adjustable in terms of its grip. And the reason you want an adjustable capo as opposed to a non-adjustable capo that just grabs your guitar like a lobster with the same amount of intensity every time, versus an adjustable capo where you can actually change the tension that it squeezes your guitar. The reality is every guitar neck is different. Some guitar necks are fat, some guitar necks are skinny, some guitar necks are wide. Some guitar necks have a big radius. Some guitar necks are skinnier towards the top of the neck, and then toward the base they get fatter. So depending on where you put the capo, you're going to want to change the tension and the grip. And so you want to get your grip perfect. You don't want the capo to be too rolled tight, to be too tense, because then you over squeeze the string and it's going to actually knock you out of tune. And you don't want it to be too loose, or else it's just going to buzz and plink, and it's not going to actually resonate and you're not going to get the vibration from the string to go deeply into the fret. It's just going to kind of die into the rubber part of the capo because it didn't push it hard enough. So also, speaking of tuning, I just want to address the fact that, and this is something a lot of beginners don't do with a capo, is when you set a capo, you definitely want to tune again. So if you were in tune without the capo, you want to retune your guitar with the capo to be perfectly in tune. For tuning, I'm using a Snark tuner. I'll put a link at the bottom of this video if you want to get one. These are also excellent. The thing I like about the Snarks, by the way, is I have the switch also on the back, which is right here. And you see a little switch. And you can set it to vibe, which allows you to do silent tuning on stage. And it's actually more accurate. So instead of using a microphone to calibrate the sound that it's hearing, it's picking up the vibration from the wood of your guitar, which is a lot more accurate. And you can tune in a noisy, crowded room, and you can tune silently. You don't need sound, which is great for the stage. So a lot of performers nowadays are just getting up there with a capo and one of these Snark tuners. The Snarks are really good, by the way. It's a very responsive, sensitive tuner. I'll do a review on that later. But for now, let's get back to our topic at hand. So we're talking about fingerstyle playing. Notice my right hand is grabbing. So I have my thumb and then my fingertips. And if you can, I'm going to play a D chord. Here's how I play a D chord. I think this is the most traditional, conventional way, like this. And then I used to play like this with a bar on the first finger. But now lately I've been playing this with this second, third, and fourth. And I have the first finger free. And then with the thumb I wrap it around for the root. Which that in itself may be a novel concept for some of you out there. See the depth in that D chord because I have the low octave of the major third, which in this case with the capo on the fourth fret, this is going to be an A sharp. I have that deep resonating. So it's notice how I'm plucking. I'm playing the bass. I'm squeezing. Look at my right hand with the thumb and the first finger, first, second, third finger. I'm going to put the thumb on the sixth string and put the first finger on the fourth, third, and the second string. And you can just pull. Kind of push into themselves like. And you're just going to kind of pluck with the fleshy part of your hand here. Now some people will grow their nails out and play with their nails. I can't do nail fingerstyle anymore because I have a split I have a split nail in my second finger, and I saw a couple doctors about it and they said there's nothing you can do, it just grows that way, so I have to keep it short. Kind of a bummer, but it's nice when you're playing Brazilian jazz to have a nail there. Anyway, again, what I'm doing is just cupping the thumb. So back to the song, Free Fallin', I'm going to grab the thumb. And then I have the middle and the high. So I have like the lows, the middle, and the high. That's it. Do you hear how I'm separating or differentiating in my delivery, the low, the middle, and the high? That's usually the most complicated thing that a beginner can't understand about fingerstyle picking. Is fingerstyle is requiring you to start thinking independently. You're not hitting the strings with one at one moment with one attack like a pick. You're actually hitting it multiple times within the same measure, within the same chord, and you're starting to more like tell a story. Sometimes I say fingerstyle guitar playing is kind of like playing a game of poker, and it's like 7-card stud, and you're only showing the cards that you want to show. It's the same way. I'm only playing the notes that I want to give you at the moment. I'm not giving you that low bass line, and I may not be giving you the high notes that pop at the exact moment of the one beat. I'm deliberate. I'm careful in revealing my hand, and careful in revealing the notes. And John Mayer really brings that out in Free Falling if we listen to the Live at the Nokia Theater version. That's just John. That's one guitar. And at that point, around the 15-second mark, a second guitar came in. But you heard that bass line with the high notes. Actually, it sounds like he's on a different fret. Hold on. She's a good girl. Okay, so he's in the key of F. So that's going to be here. Ah, my bad. He's on the 3rd fret. By the way, so you may also be wondering why bother using a capo. So the capo, it works kind of like the barre, the nut, okay? Here's the nut. So if I have, like, let's say a D chord, well, let me see if I use a chord that I'm using in this song. All right, so we end on the A. So let's say I play an A chord like this, and I'm playing open strings 5, 4, 3, 2. And instead of playing A with one finger, let's say I play it with 3 fingers. It's the same exact chord. Instead of doing here, actually I'll do it with a 3rd finger with a barre. And you see where this nut, this white thing, or in my case it's kind of yellow, but the yellow nut here on the 0 fret acts also as something that's holding down this 5th string. So it's plus is these 3 plus the nut. Now this relationship, I can move it. You see what I'm doing? And I'm using this capo. I'm using a bar chord. So I'm here. Now, if I want to play like this chord, instead of doing all this work to bar, I could get something like a capo, and it just pushes the bar for me. That's one chord, or I could bar it. Same exact tone, same exact pitch, but it's a lot less work, okay? So that's why I use a capo. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll do a much more in-depth video about capo usage and why in the future, but that's enough for now. Back to the basics of playing with fingerstyle playing. I'm doing this grab motion here, but sometimes I grab all the strings, and sometimes I'll just grab some of the strings. And if I pluck it like one at a time, that's called an arpeggio. Really pay attention to my thumb. Every time my thumb moves, the bass is moving. So I want you to hear that. Notice I can do a percussive pop. Like, it reminds me of Extreme, their massive hit that they did, More Than Words. It kept using that pop, right? Okay, and that's another style that's also used in Brazilian jazz. It's using that pop. It's a percussive sound where you just kind of hit the guitar. I know Ed Sheeran recently was doing some songs like Don't, let's say, where he hits the guitar and he has that pop. So it's... So what I've got going on is something called a moving bass line. So the bass line is not stagnant, okay? In other words, this bass line is leading into the song, and it's actually emphasizing the changes in a melodic way. So you got a melodic movement on the low end with the bass line, and you have melodic movement on the high end inside the chord, and then you also have melodic movement and harmonic intervals in the mids, in the middle section. So you got the lows, the mids, and the highs, and they're all moving kind of interdependently, and it's really beautiful. And then of course I got that snap with that pop. That's also adding percussion, okay? A lot of beginners want to do this style. A lot of beginners come see me, they say, I want to learn this type of finger style. And I tell them the truth. I say, hey man, that stuff is hard. That stuff is not easy. That stuff, but I just want to address something. A lot of people, when they're looking at trying to play guitar, they think that something that sounds gentle is easy. And then something that sounds intense is hard. But that's not true. Just because you can do it loud and strong doesn't mean it's hard. It could be a lot harder to do something very delicate, fragile, and gentle and intricate than something that's just big, bold, and brash and loud. Does that make sense? So delivering a really in detail melodic structure on an acoustic with fingerstyle is actually pretty hard, people. That's as opposed to a lot of people when they do just like a fake finger style, is they'll just take their finger and strum with their fingernail. And if you're gonna do that, you really should learn how to use a pick, where it would be more like this. Notice if you're good, you could have a moving bass line, mids, and differentiating highs with the percussive feel, even using a pick. Watch. So all these concepts are actually pretty difficult. They're actually pretty advanced. So that's why I said at the beginning of this talk we're having that I'm going to cover some basic topics and then I'm going to get into some advanced stuff. And I always got to remind my students, hey, sometimes we're getting into really advanced stuff. A lot of people, they want to do the advanced stuff because it sounds cool, right? But then because it sounds cool, they find out, hey, that's advanced and that's hard. So you got to have patience. If you're just coming into the scene of learning how to play guitar, I'd ask you to be content with something that's simple and really have victory over that, and then slowly move into more complex concepts rather than trying to bite off more than you can chew. Or even worse yet, inflicting that desire on your guitar teacher and making him or her teach you something that's more than you can chew. Of course, I've encountered that a lot, and I have to kind of talk people down and try to hopefully get them satisfied with playing something that's a little more attainable. So if that's you, wherever that fits, I'd like you to apply that to your thinking. Maybe that'll help you get further down the road. Okay, so I want to cover a few more topics here. I also want to show you the difference of playing with a capo and playing not with a capo. So this is with the capo with a pick, and then fingerstyle with the capo B. Now here's fingerstyle with open strings using bar chords. I just had a key change there. I wonder what happened. Hold on. should have been here. Alright, my bad. So it should have been here. This is with the capo. Wow. Notice the subtleties, even with the high notes, the way they pop and they jump up, and then I cut them abruptly. That's called left hand mute. This stuff is complicated, okay? So there's a lot to it. But I just want to be fair and show and talk about everything that I'm doing right now. Here is the bar chord. That's a lot more work. That's a lot more work, but it's not using a capo, okay? Rarely would I say to people, it's better to use a capo, okay? That being said, I do teach my students, my beginners, at first to play with a capo. Why do I do that? Well, you teach the initial bar chords, like 5 or 6 or 7 bar chords. I mean, 5 or 6 or 7 open chords, majors and minors. And I might teach you like an A minor, a C, D, you know, D minor, E minor, you know. There may be a few open chords that we do, G, for instance. And then from there, I can put on a capo and actually have you play a couple hundred more songs, okay, without getting into bar chords. Bar chords are really hard, okay? So I usually hold off on the bar chords. I usually wait with the student at least a month, if not 3 or 6. Okay, it depends on how fast the student's learning. It depends on how strong their hands are. Men tend to have stronger hands than women. Adults tend to be have bigger hands than children. So acoustic tends to be harder than electric. So these are all variables that ends up depending how well the student is going to be able to play a bar chord. And I'm usually careful to give them homework that is going to fit their ability. So I don't want to give them something that's just way more than they can do in that week. That's why I'm careful as to when to give out that bar chord. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to show you both how to do the bar chord and fingerstyle and the capo, and talk about the advantages and the disadvantages. So obviously the advantage of playing with a bar chord is that you don't need a capo and you don't need to retune. What do I mean? Well, you remember what I said, that when you put on the capo, you need to tune. And just like I suspected, my guitar, when I tune to the capo and then I take the capo off, my guitar is now slightly out of tune. Okay? A lot of people don't know this. And so they get up to perform with a capo and they end up sounding sour. They could have taken a moment just to tune with the capo and then sound crisp. But now I'm going to sound like I'm supposed to sound. Here's with a pick. I'm able to get all those accents, but don't forget, guys, that this is advanced. This is definitely advanced stuff. To get all those advances and the cuts and coming in with the bass line, with the string selection, this stuff is hard, okay? So it does take time. Guitar playing is exactly as hard as it looks, okay? Here's with the fingerstyle. Tom Petty wrote this song, and Tom definitely played it with a capo. I believe he's actually playing it with a 12 string. 12 strings are kind of cool. I have one at my house in Japan, but they're also kind of a pain. So they're nice, they sound big, but they are constricting. You can't do as much as you can do with a 6 string. So, yeah. So yeah, we covered a lot of things today. Let me just retune real quick. So this just real quick. This is with the capo. Notice I didn't bother to retune, and I can hear it sounds a little bit off. I don't know if you can hear that out there in the video, but like that. You hear that G. Which is exactly my point. That's why you want to tune up. So anyway, so that's, I'm doing some fingerstyle blues. Sounds really good. If I use the pick. Okay, this guitar sounds great, by the way. This is a Taylor 814 CE. If you're interested in this guitar, I'll put a link at the bottom of this video. I'll show you where you can buy one. It's a very, very nice guitar. So just quickly, you can do some fingerstyle techniques with playing guitar solos and blues. Some arpeggios. I would challenge you to just rewind this video and really look at the way my thumb is moving, and you're going to notice how busy the thumb is relative to all the other fingers. Okay, I have a very unique finger style because I was trained, my first years of playing was by classical, and so I don't give the bass the same proportion as all the other strings. I put a lot more bass in my playing. I'm also using a technique called syncopation, where I'll do the bass and then immediately vacillate between a bass and a mid note, and a bass and a high note, and a bass and a mid note. Give me a second here. I'm using brand new strings. These are Diodario 12s, phosphor bronze, I believe, and they're really good. They're probably about $5 a pack. I prefer these strings over the anything that's wound or wrapped or coated, and I get them by the case right here. These are Diodario 12 to 52s. If you want, I'll put a link at the bottom of this video for those strings, but that's what I recommend. As you can see with fingerstyle, you can get very creative. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, just on a personal note, my first 6 years of playing guitar were classical. So literally I was playing Bach and Mozart and Beethoven and Chopin and stuff. And I don't really like that stuff. That's just what they made me play when I was a child. I was 6 years old when I started. But one of the things that I really appreciate and I took with me is a very deep and unique fingerstyle playing. So I got moving bass lines, I got accents, I got snapping and popping. And a lot of that snapping and popping, I didn't get it from Rice Krispie treats, by the way. Crack, snapple, and pop. I got it from Brazilian jazz. So Brazilian jazz is a little different, but listen to the snap in Brazilian jazz fingerstyle. it's a lot more bubbly and, you know, danceable, kind of maybe even a cocktail hour kind of vibe. So, I hope I covered enough topics here to just kind of open your eyes in regards to fingerstyle playing, moving bass lines, interrelated melodic structures with bass notes, mid notes, high notes, use of a capo, tuning issues you may have, use of your thumb, bar chords versus capo versus open chords, a whole lot of cool stuff, strumming patterns even, and some mistakes that beginners make with just trying to do everything with their fingertip instead of committing to either a pick or finger style. But I really want to hear from you, so comment below, like the video if it helped you out, share it on media if you want, subscribe. If you comment anything you questions you have, I always answer. So you can also go to my website at dicekimura.com and check out my blog where I'm talking about all kinds of guitar techniques and tips. Okay? Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you at the next video.